Hello and welcome. It is 6 o'clock and it is the 6 o'clock club. Hello there, I'm Andy from Twisted Narrative and I am joined by a familiar club member. You might have seen Kyle in our Shadowdark prologue and session 0, or even in the very recently posted riddle of Rotwood Bog 5th edition game that we ran last night. But introduce yourself, Kyle.
Well, I'm Kyle. Been role playing with Andy for around 5 years now, mainly online. But I was fortunate enough to catch the tail end of Chimera with Andy and his lovely wife Heather.
Yeah. Big shout out to Heather. Um, Still at work at the moment. Such a shame. She'll be back. Hello to Elsa, who is in chat, and Solo. Thanks for joining us again, and once again for your very kind comments on the videos that we posted today, especially on Shadowdark. And we're going to lean into Shadowdark very soon, very soon. But we're going to have a very quick conversation about what we did last night because there is another Kickstarter that we are involved in, and we'll call it quickly up here. The Riddle of a Rotwood Bog. It's not directly our Kickstarter. It's done by a magnificent company called Dragon's Forge, who create all of these wonderful miniatures. But I was lucky enough, alongside Matt, to get commissioned to write an adventure for their Kickstarter, and it's just launched. It launched on Saturday. So it's doing well. It's certainly hit its goal, so it's hit all the pledges that it's needed. So it's going to fire. But I kind of felt I wanted to give people a little bit of a taster of it. So we ran an actual play last night. Kyle was involved. Tell us a little bit about your character, Kyle.
Moonlight. Well, Moonlight on Waves was a bard. Very chatty sort of exploration type. Much rather go and have a chat with somebody than open up a fight, which may have derailed a couple of things last night.
Yeah, a GM's worst nightmare. Oh, they want to have a conversation with the obvious bad guys. I don't mean that. I love it. Any kind of encounter should technically be viewed from all angles. Three pillars of role playing: you have combat, you have social, you have exploration. So I didn't mind it at all, and you did very well to get as far as you did, and you did manage to get some information out of them before it all started kicking off, really. That is the beauty of role play at a table, though, is that you can handle encounters differently. Um, you need to manage player expectations. You can't persuade people to do things that they're just never going to do, as you well know. But you can certainly try or sort of twist the conversation or come up with something that might give you a degree of advantage. And your approach last night gave your group a magnificent advantage, allowing them to creep closer, ready to strike when you hit that power chord. I don't really want to spoil it. I really enjoyed running it. It was a snapshot of the adventure. We did the start, the middle, and the end, but there is substantially more to it. And I think we were playing for about 3.5 hours, so it was great fun. Very much enjoyed that, and thank you for taking part. That's what we did last night. We do need to quickly mention what we're going to do tonight, and then we'll come on to our main subject matter. So tonight we have Fortunes Untold, a 5th edition game. We've got Fliss, Roz, James and Adrian in the game. Very much looking forward to sort of running this. They're about to descend down into Riptide Cove, some sunken caverns, and start their search for some liquid sun. And there might be one or two people out there that have encountered Liquid Sun before. This incredibly rare, sort of almost legendary, sort of alchemical substance that is indeed Liquid Sun. Well, I mean, it is one of my games, and there is a degree of twisted narrative to it. The true origins of Liquid Sun might actually be the urine of the fire giant god Sutar. So yes, fortunately there's a little sample in Riptide Cove. They don't have to go to the elemental plane of fire and find the bed pot of Sutar and smuggle some of the Liquid Sun away. So I am very much going to have a blast seeing how they solve this problem. So that is what's on tonight. But today is the final hours of the Shadowdark Kickstarter. There are only a few hours to go. So I've done something special. I'm going to do a Shadowdark takeover, and hopefully, haha, it worked. We have transformed into a Shadowdark overlay. Hope you all like that. It took me hours, and I'm so pleased it worked. We're going to talk about Shadowdark a little bit, but currently, if I can get this to work as well, it will be amazing. I am not known for my technical skills, but hopefully, we should be able to call up the Kickstarter page and have a look at that. There we go. It does work indeed. So this is a snapshot of the Kickstarter page at the moment, the Shadowdark one, and it's live. So you can see there that is currently the UK information. 17 hours to go. It's hit in the UK £1,000,000, £1,021,181, over 12,000 backers. It might tick up in a minute if anybody else subscribes, and it's done absolutely amazingly and incredibly well deserved as well. And that's kind of what I want to talk about as it comes down. A number of things. I can't wait to get my hands on the core rules, but I'm not entirely sure everybody has kind of had a look at the quick start rules or kind of understands the tools that are being given and how potentially liberating it is for a GM to run a game. It's been sort of directed as, oh, it's only a dungeon crawler, only good for going down into dungeons, and I don't think it is at all. And until we get the actual full core rules, we can see the kind of things that have been sort of put in there. But as you can tell, I am very excited and passionate about it. So much so that we've got an actual play in the process of being done at the moment. Kyle, you're involved in that, and I posted up to YouTube your character a few days ago. Whilst we're watching for anything to happen on the Kickstarter page, do you want to tell us a little bit about Gideon?
Okay, well, Gideon was originally trying to get involved with the Bakers Guild, but he got on the wrong side of them following a bit of a mention of banana bread. It's a very, very poor choice in the smoke. So he had to hide very quickly. He was fortunate enough that his contact with the Beggars Guild would be willing to take him in, and he was able to get a little bit of gold and quite a bit of information due to that, and spent most of his days begging on the streets, listening out for what he can hear. But, well, we've got to eat sometimes, so we need to goes to something a little bit more dangerous.
Excellent. And I mean, even just hearing that from you now, it kind of shows that there's a degree of thought and backstory gone into your character already. Because I'm going to try and run it as a mini campaign. There you go. You see, it's ticking up as we speak. Um, and I kind of want the players in the Tales from the Smoke Shadowdark to kind of feel like they do want to survive. This isn't just a throwaway sort of character sheet. This isn't just I'm going to die, so let's just embrace that madness. I want you to try and survive, and I'm kind of writing the game to encompass that as well. Pretty much the way that I kind of write Call of Cthulhu scenarios, in the fact that um, we're all aware Call of Cthulhu people play normal people in a terrifying world that the from the shadows and the corners of their eyesight there are things that lurk, and at any moment if one of these things appear, um, these so-called investigators can easily sort of be slaughtered, ripped apart. And it's an interesting thing, really. It's a challenge to write a game that is fantasy based, that has got a campaign feel. I am setting it in my own urban setting, which is the Smoker, sort of fancy Victorian steampunk-esque London. Um, and you will be doing some dungeon crawling. You will be going down into the darker places. So there is a challenge there. And it's going to be interesting to see if you and the other players can rapidly get into the mindset of the style of play. And I certainly hope I'm going to certainly be hinting and uh, nudging you into sort of directions of what the rules can and can't do. Um, the style of the game is intriguing. It's rules light, as it says here, old school gaming, new school mechanics, and very much within the rule set. If you're not in a pressured sort of situation, as long as you are taking an action that um, means that you are perhaps looking for a trap, looking for a secret door, perhaps trying to investigate a puzzle, or perhaps search a body, maybe even doing a medicine, sort of, seeing what hurt this individual, this corpse that you found. As long as you're not in a pressured situation, you're taking your time somewhat. These things happen. Rather than having to do a medicine roll in certain other systems to find out that, oh yeah, he broke both his legs. As long as you're looking, you kind of easily can see, oh yeah, he broke both his legs. And it's a completely different mindset. In a pressured situation though, that is when you start having to make those rolls. So the secret is try and avoid getting into pressured situations, um, and use all of the information that's given you. It's very much more a case of, oh, we've found these things. Are they any use to us? No. Will they be any use to us? Maybe. Let's remember they're here. Because again, one of the core mechanics in Shadowdark is a very limited inventory. So you have gear slots, and you can only carry a certain amount of gear. So sometimes you have to choose, and it becomes a bit of a resource management game. And all of these things, I think, give a completely different dynamic to it. And I'm very excited to try this out. In my head, I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant, but only time will tell. Um, there's been a few quotes. The creator of this, Kelsey, um, she's been interviewed by Forbes magazine, and in that article, very well read, and I'll put the link to the magazine article so you can all read it in the comments section. But it's very well written. The interview comes across very nicely, and I think, Kelsey, they make a lot of sense within the interview, which is one of the reasons why I've been drawn to Shadowdark. Everything they've said, I've kind of felt myself. So it's kind of why I'm on board. But I kind of want to share a couple of these quotes with you and maybe get your opinion on it, Kyle. So the first quote I'm calling up here at the moment. Just need to do that. Okay, and do that, and then do that. Okay, so these are taken directly from the Forbes article. You can read the full article, as I say, in the comment section below. But classic elements really emphasize risk calculation and creative problem solving, says Kelsey. All iterations of Dungeons and Dragons have that, of course, but it becomes the primary focus in classic editions because characters are fragile and fights are not meant to be fair. I think that real and constant sense of danger and the thrill of overcoming in a moment of well earned triumph is a major draw to modern gamers interested in the classic gameplay style. So it's interesting, fights are not meant to be fair. This is not a balanced game in terms of if you pick a fight with something and it's stronger than you, you're in a world of pain. So picking your fights is a sensible thing to do. But on top of that, um, also overcoming those dangers feels much greater triumph than kind of knowing, oh, this monster's got a challenge rating of so and so, we can easily beat it. It doesn't really matter. Let's go in and do the thing, as it were. And I'd like to point out at this moment that you don't gain experience from slaying monsters, defeating NPCs. Experience is gained by gaining treasure or boons. Um, so you can gain experience and levels without any kind of combat whatsoever. Obviously, some of the creatures might want to not let you just come and take their stuff, so that needs to be borne in mind as well. Do you have any thoughts on that quote at all? Um,
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to this game is having to change up the complete tactics of not just go charging in at everything, and the reason I sort of went into charisma as my main stat, despite it
yeah.
questionably being mechanically weak.
Well,
But
again, the thing is that uh, it's a different kind of mechanics in the game. I mean, it could be argued, yeah, dexterity means that you've got potentially greater chance to hit with missile weapons and helps your armor class, etc., etc. I know what you mean, but there is a mechanic in the game that when the random encounters happen and a random group is rolled that don't already have issues with you, then your charisma will modify how they feel about you. So and having a +4 to that 2d6 roll is quite a good mathematically buff, basically.
hope is to avoid a few combat situations by, well, hopefully talking well.
Well, I mean, one of the great things is that if you do talk well, you won't need to be making a roll unless you really do need to change. It's a pressure situation, and they know that you've already done things against their faction. That is the kind of times that you will perhaps have to make rolls. I'm very excited to witness your charming personality. I think you will rapidly become the face of the group anyway, and that is important. Like I said, whilst I am going to lean into the time mechanic where torches burn in real time, and the dark mechanic, no one has dark vision. Some of the monsters do, but none of the player ancestries do. Um, I am going to lean into that because I think that makes it thrilling and exciting. And there is also the constant smog in the smoke that is going to make that happen, even on the surface in certain districts, anyway. Um, there will be interaction with the guilds, the mercantile houses, and the general populace as well. So being charming, knowing people, making friends in this mini campaign is still going to be very important, and I'm very much looking forward to those. Also encounters, I suppose that they are, or interactions maybe is a better word. Um, we've got a second quote here which really sort of amps it up, which is it's about dungeon crawling, but I think it's more than just about dungeon crawling. I think it's kind of about the type of characters that exist within Shadowdark. I think dungeon crawling brings the game back to things that we as players really understand, said Kelsey, the designer of Shadowdark. There's a lot of gritty humanity to being a dungeon crawler with a sword and a torch who's only one mistake away from disaster, unseen monsters, fading resources, and a quest for treasure and glory. We understand these struggles implicitly because they're reflections of our daily lives. Bringing the game back to the dungeon makes it more real in a way. Dungeon crawlers aren't superheroes. They're scrappy, imperfect people who, despite their flaws, are still trying to do something larger than life. You know, it's the it's the wannabe hero up against it, trying to make something better for themselves or their families or their clans, and it is inherently dangerous to do so. Um, what do you think about that?
Another aspect I'm really looking forward to for fifth edition is mostly what I've played, and I think it lacks any sort of threat or sense of urgency in most cases. And I'm really looking forward to actually feeling under pressure and actually having to weigh up the risks of, oh, I can't be hit. How are we going to deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, I do love my fifth edition. Um, I think especially when it was first launched, it was uh, mechanics like advantage and disadvantage were very, very beautiful. Um, but like any system, after a number of years, it does suffer from sort of power creep, and it does suffer from being able to cherry pick certain abilities and spells and sort of optimize. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does create optimized, very powerful characters. Um, and I think you're right. It does take away the potential chance of failure, certainly when you get to sort of mid levels, substantially. Um, Especially if you've got a larger number of players and they are equipped with magic items. I mean, you can sort of nerf the system, obviously, but I've never really liked doing that. I think if there is a system written, it's designed to be played like that, and it just seems wrong to say to the players, "Oh no, you can't do that," and it's like, well, it's part of the rules in the game, and it's like, yeah, well, fair enough, you're right. Um, and I've had some wonderful sessions and still have wonderful sessions in fifth edition as well. But those wonderful sessions rarely are about the brink of the failure of the player characters. It's more like, wow, we were awesome, or that was fantastic. It's an epic bit of role playing or storytelling, which are fantastic experiences, absolutely. And I think I mentioned to you sort of off screen, there's no rights and wrongs of this. There's no better or worses. It's different types of game and different types of experience. And I kind of equated Shadowdark to maybe like a sort of survival horror or survival fantasy computer game, a bit like maybe Bloodborne or Elden Ring, where you have to weigh up all of your choices. And if you do get into a fight, if you're not particularly well skilled, then it's probably going to go bad for you. Whereas more modern day systems, we mentioned Fifth Ed again, is still a beautiful experience, but it's more akin to playing a computer game, a fantasy computer game, on story mode most of the time, where you are enjoying the story, seeing all of the fantastic world building and having a whale of a time and fantastic experiences doing it. Um, but there is little threat to you as characters. Um, and it all comes down to, I suppose, what you like or what you want from a game. I'm certainly not going to stop running Fifth Edition or Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu or Feng Shui or Mork Borg or any one of the other systems that I really, really like. But I'm very, very happy to be adding Shadowdark to that collection of games that I'll be running. Um, and I'm very pleased to have you involved in that with this actual play. We will be pre-recording the kind of proper first session of it next Wednesday, I believe, and then that should be going live on or uploaded rather than live on the Thursday of next week. Are you looking forward to this?
Very much so. It's going to be quite a big shock to a system going to superpowered or superhero 5th edition to this. As you say, I'm hoping to adapt the mindset quite quickly, but it's certainly going to be a shock.
I'm very interested to sort of see. I personally, because you've been at my table before, as have all of the other players, and I don't want to say I'm going to be holding your hand through it, but it is a job as a GM to, guide you through the process. Um, I want this to be a sort of mini campaign, so there will be to give it that computer game sort of analogy, I suppose. Initially, a little bit of a tutorial mode. This is not me telling you how to play the game, but sort of easing you into the experience. Um, we've got a couple of comments in chat. Solo says, I applaud Kyle for that charisma stat choice, a genuine role player move. Kudos for that. Absolutely. You got two skill ups. You got +2 to, I think it was strength, dexterity, or charisma, and you got that twice. And you chose charisma twice. And that was. I think a very nice role play move, and I'm certainly not going to be looking to penalise you for that. And a skill, you're back with us again. You've been quiet for a while. Hello, thank you very much for joining us. Um, you are a big fan of second edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I genuinely think that Shadowdark is a game that I think you would very much enjoy. I'm just going to quickly move back to the Kickstarter page again. There you go. It has tickled up again. 12,085 backers now. Only 16 hours to go. I can't believe it's done a £1 million. We are living in wondrous times where sort of role-playing games are achieving this level of attention. I mean, the great thing is as well is that Shadowdark uh, is well deserving of this. It's not a fad or a flash in the pan. Kelsey, the designer, has been working hard on this for over 3 years. Um, it has probably hit perhaps the very, very best of times. There was obviously a very interesting January with Wizards of the Coast and the OGL debacle, and Shadowdark was ready to go. So I think it's drawing a lot of interest from people that are looking to have the new school mechanics of games such as Fifth Edition or Pathfinder or whatever, but to go back to the roots of old school gaming again and sort of be these dirty, grubby little adventurers that are very much trying to make their way in an incredibly dangerous world. Um, as well as the actual play that we're doing, I'm working on at the moment, and we're going to be doing some playthroughs on Sunday of a sort of West Marshes type game set in Shadowdark as well, called the Halls of the Idiot God, and that's going to be fun as well. There's going to be a lot of sort of mythos references. It's going to be dark, very grim, challenging, but once again, I like to give the characters and the players a chance of getting out alive. If I've got enough chance, I might well do a little video either tomorrow or Friday about that. And if there's interest, I might actually speak to Matt, who worked with me on the Rotwood Kickstarter, and maybe turn that into a document that we can throw up somewhere, either on Kickstarter or on drive-through or something like that, so people can see behind the screens of my crazy mind. So you can see it ticking up. I can't believe there is only 16 hours to go. You're very good at maths. At what time is this going to end? Oh, I can see. So I don't need to do maths. I just need to actually read what it says there. Um, it should finish at 11:26 a.m. British Standard Time. That is 16 hours from now. Sorry, you're going to say something?
Can't wait to get my hands on the core rulebook and actually dive into it, see what wasn't in the quick start guide. It's been a taster, but I want a lot more.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that I've seen people discuss is there's going to be an awful lot of random tables. So tables for creating items in the quick start rules. There's a table with how to name magic items, and there's like 3 columns, and you roll a d12, and you suddenly end up with a crazy name of an item, which just allows your creative juices to flow. And it's like, what does this do then? How are we going to make this work? But there's supposed to be a whole host of various different sort of randomized tables for encounters, how they react. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Kickstarter does when it finally ends, because I think there's going to be a sort of a bit of a rush at the end to grab it. I say I've certainly kickstarted it, and I'm looking forward to my rules as well. It's been said that they're not going to be available for a couple of weeks. Once the Kickstarter ends, all of the money needs to come in, everything needs to happen, and so it's going to be about mid-April. But that is the perfect chance then for probably session 2, if we make it that far of the actual play. And we might tweak the characters. Who knows? Once we've got the actual rules, you might go, you know what? Can I re-roll? I'm quite interested in playing this, or we might just let you choose off the stats you've got a different character class. Who knows what glorious things are in there? Certainly for the actual play, I've homebrewed a number of creatures and monsters and threats and traps and everything else to to fill it out and to fit in with the world of the smoke as well. So there's going to be some quite interesting things if you are interested. That should be going, as I say, uploaded on the 6th. I'm very excited to to actually get playing with this. My first time with the rules will be this Sunday as well. It's all ticking up. So I guess that is where we're at. Um, please give it a look. You can find the links to the Kickstarter page down below. Um, as always, if it's not your thing, I totally understand. There is no judgment here. Um, but I am going to be looking to run some games. So if you are interested, send me a message in Discord. Um, do you have any final thoughts, Kyle?
Really? Go on, have a quick glance at our session 0 and prologue. It's not gone dived into it deep yet, but I think it gives a good idea of what sort of things we can expect from it, and keep an eye out for the session 0, session 1.
It does. So I think it just goes without saying. Big shout out to Kelsey, the creator of Shadowdark. I want to thank you. It's really refreshed my sort of passion and desire to run games and play games. Um, it's taken me back, to be honest, to my youth. The way that we used to play games with minimal rules and lots of imagination. And I can't wait to hopefully kind of lead the way with my single torch in the darkness to some of my community and get them involved in playing what I hope is going to be an absolute awesome experience. So thank you and a big congratulations on your huge success, and I think there'll be many more successes to come as well. Any final words, Kyle?
See, I really do advise checking out the Riddle of Rockwood Bog. I had an absolute blast last night. I didn't realise we'd been playing for almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it was a long and it was good. We appreciate your support if you can afford it. Please take a look. There'll be more Rockwood stuff coming along as well in future weeks as we move towards the end of that Kickstarter as well. But for now, then, this brings an end to Wednesday's 6 o'clock club takeover by Shadowdark. We'll be back to normal tomorrow. Well, when I say normal, what truly is normal. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will catch you all next time. Bye for now.
Bye.